Doug, a.k.a. Celindar.
This is Chuck, DM, Billiana.
This is Brian, a.k.a. Sir Brian.
Hey, this is Kama, and you're listening to the only Neverwinter Nights 2 podcast. Arr!
Hell yeah. You tell him.
This is so exciting. Wow! Where to begin?
It's the Neverwinter Nights podcast. The Neverwinter Nights podcast. The only podcast for the Neverwinter Nights game series, bringing you news, interviews, reviews, and more for the community by the community. You can find us online at neverwinternightspodcast.com. And now, on to the show.
I'm David, a.k.a. Vivictus X.
This is Doug, a.k.a. Celindar. I'm the head DM for Realms of Trinity. I'm also an area developer and a moderator on the forums.
This is Brian, a.k.a. Sir Brian. I'm Realms of Trinity game creator, area designer, and lead scripter.
This is Chuck, DM, Billiana. I'm the main playtester.
Hey, this is Kama, DM, forums moderator, general lackey wherever needed.
Hi, this is Shana, a.k.a. Cat Dragonstar.
Hi, folks. This is Skunk, a.k.a. the most rotten bastard in Neverwinter Nights.
All right, and this is the 110th episode of the only Neverwinter Nights community podcast. Podcast all about Neverwinter Nights series of role-playing games.
No, it's not. It's episode 110 and a half, part 2.
Oh, who knew?
Yeah.
We're just going to have a lot of material to edit tonight.
I'm going to behave. I tell you who to watch out for for Karma. He's gonna get wild on the show.
Well, in which case, then, Kama, the phrase that you need to keep in your mind is, cut that out.
Or tell us when to edit anything out. You know,
edit this out.
Well, we got the Realms of Trinity guys here. This is pretty wicked. I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about these fellas. I haven't been onto their server yet.
That's the first thing you need to correct.
Yes, it is. Yes. Yeah. Do you have an open DM application or?
No, it's not necessarily open. We like to see how people get received by the other players on the server, and we like to make sure that they stay with what we're trying to keep with our vision.
Well, that's always.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that shows some talent, they got a good background, they're always welcome to apply.
Well, once in a while, when I end up eating cereal in the morning, I end up pulling out these awards out of the box, and a couple of them say DM of the Year awards. Is that any good to be a DMM on there, or you have to stick around?
That's some pretty good accolades.
Yeah, well, but too bad you knocked some little old lady off and stole her award, Skunk.
Yeah, she didn't need it.
I'm sure that the folks from Realms of Trinity are probably already on top of this, but I just saw that the patch 123 for Neverwinter Nights 2 was released on the 15th. Is that all working all right for you folks?
That don't sound good.
Maybe not.
That don't sound good. What have you been?
The downloader isn't exactly what we hope.
Is there anything else though?
It's just like any time they release a patch. There's, for the development crew, it's a period of adjustment to work out what's working better, what's working worse.
What's your overall opinion on it?
Or
never mind.
Well, here's the thing. As a matter of fact, we just rolled it out today. I spent probably about 8 hours last night, starting about 8 p.m. I didn't finish about 3 in the morning, getting the first setup of it. I mean, it is definitely a great idea, and I think that overall it's definitely an improvement. I think the fact that the issues that we're now having with WorldGate now because of it, with it not being able to read the PWC anymore, because I guess formatting changes inside the tool set. I mean, I think that it's going to be a culture adjustment, if anything.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel that maybe Atari or Obsidian might be releasing some future patches? Because I know some people are talking kind of grim, like this might be the final patch or something.
That's hard to say. I mean, I'll say this. I mean, I've been pretty active since like February 2008 when I began development of Realms of Trinity.
Uh-huh.
And the fact is, I've been on the developers forums on BioWare pretty regularly, and I've been requesting scripts and stuff. And they're finally just getting around to some of the stuff that I had requested back then. I just think that they got a backlog and a low budget right now for it because, I was just saying is that the fact is I think that there's just a low budget for it, just for the simple fact that they've already sold their copies and they're already discounting the product from when it came out at $50 a copy down to like $20, $15 a copy.
Well, I'm interested in more of hearing about Realms of Trinity. Trey ended up providing us a intro for your game world, and I'd like to read it and then let David and Shana get into the things, and I would just want to chill and smoke a cigarette here. But many years ago, a wizard named Cain has mastered his art and began seeking a way to overcome his own mortality, forging a pact with the darkest gods. Cain was taken into the pits of the 9 hells and reformed into a devil of immense proportions. Returning to the world of mortals, Cain destroyed everything in his path and summoned a massive horde of evil beings to serve as his underlings. These creatures decimated all opposition, including the followers of the dark gods who Cain had sworn allegiance to. Those few who managed to survive sought refuge in the bustling port town of Trinity. With its substantial army and formidable navy, Trinity's leaders believed the invading force could be trampled in a matter of days. Orders were given, and the battalion marched forth to bring peace to the land. Within days, hundreds of courageous adventurers met their doom at the hands of Cain. But none were able to match his terrifying might or awesome feats of magic. Then the heroes of Trinity, armed with mystical weapons and extraordinary abilities, faced Cain in his own fortress, Hell's Keep. The battle was long, but the heroes of Trinity managed the impossible, extinguishing Cain's life force and sending him back to the Hells, defeated. Now, over 2 years later, the stirring of trouble are beginning anew. A call has gone out for the adventurers to assist Trinity in the time of need. Will you tempt the fates and face this deadly challenge?
Well, my. Well, that certainly is a good lead in there. I'm not sure that. Could you guys use him on your own? On your own work there?
You could make a video.
Hey, whatever. That sounds good to me.
Really? Or did it suck? Yeah. Too cheesy?
Well, I know that we've. I know that you guys have introduced yourself a little bit earlier, but for those who maybe have just managed to get in here and forgotten exactly what they're doing, would you kind of tell us what about yourselves, maybe how you got started, what role you serve on Realms of Trinity?
Yeah, sure. This is Doug, aka Celindar. I'm the head DM for Realms of Trinity. I started way back with like the original Baldur's Gate, and then moved on from there.
This is Brian, aka Sir Brian. I am the creator of Realms of Trinity, scripter and development, other than some of the 9 Hells. We've done a lot of work with Neverwinter Nights 1 and 2, primarily Neverwinter Nights 2 in the case of our server.
This is Chuck, DM Billiana. I'm the main playtester of the server, and I got into Neverwinter Nights when Doug got on my ass about quitting EverQuest 2 and joining Neverwinter Nights, which was a lot better.
This is Kama. I'm DM over at ROT. I've been involved in pen and paper since a teen, first edition, second edition. Then got into Neverwinter Nights 1 when it first came out. Ran the gambit of DM, builder, content creator. Found my way onto Realms of Trinity, and after a while, I started talking with the boss men there, and I kind of tagged on to the team.
Well, you've got some pretty wide experience there between all of you. Why don't what exactly? I mean, outside of that marvelous reading that Skunk did for us, tell us more about the realms.
Well, the realm itself, we placed Trinity, and we use a lot of actual D&D lore in the server. So if you bring up the map of Faerun, we placed it at the bottom of Sembia, right along the coast of the Sea of Fallen Stars, which is right near Westgate. It's just south of Cormyr, and a lot of core areas there. And if you keep going up the Sword Coast, you'll hit all of the major areas.
Yeah, and the thing is, as Skunk read eloquently our intro, I mean, we do have a major story that we have developed, around. As a matter of fact, the Realms of Trinity there was a Neverwinter Nights 1 server. It was named Realms of Trinity that we coincidentally had played on, and we got a couple core concepts from. The server didn't have a story or anything like that, but it was just some of the things that we kind of build up ourselves as we played, role playing, and come up with all the stories ourselves around it. And so we didn't Xerox the server, but we built our own intricate story behind how our characters came about, and we're actually coincidentally our main NPCs are the heroes of Trinity that were talked about in the introduction. They were able to defeat this devil Cain, armed with weapons that came directly from Torm, which you'll find out in the story later on, and they were able to take over an insurmountable opponent. And then 2 years later, at the end of our introduction, you players find themselves in a situation where things are starting to come unraveled. The peace is not quite. It never really came about. I mean, it was more of a false peace, more like the difference between World War I and World War II. I mean, there was a lot of problems that were coming up daily. People end up leaving, or betraying the Trinity, the general and the other people in the army, in the military, navy. And, broke off, and there's been a lot of problems, and as the players, adventure through, our story, we'll find that, the things that are behind it are obviously Cain and, in his attempt to try to re-enter the world once again, as a corporal being.
Have you found, before I turn this over to David for the next question, I just wanted to ask, did you find that by creating a world around characters that were very intimate to you, did it help you or hinder you in the creation of your persistent world?
It was actually very helpful. It's almost like what J.R.R. Tolkien did with Lord of the Rings, and he had a very intricate and, as you said, intimate character experience, and it was actually served as the foundation to the server. So the story goes beyond just, oh, look, we have an army here attacking, civilization there, and vice versa. It's actually about the relationship between the heroes of Trinity and the next generation, i.e. the players that come about now as player characters, and the current thread. So it was a very helpful thing, and it was a very foundational strategy.
Great, David.
For a new player, what do they need in order to get started playing Realms of Trinity?
Well, now with the new download patch, all you have to do is just try to log in. I mean, okay. That's it.
And I'll add to that. I mean, our website's pretty interactively friendly. I mean, it's pretty easy to navigate through. All of our navigation is through the scroll, still on the left-hand side or right-hand side of the screen, and we have, getting started page. Our downloads page has kind of been deprecated now, being that we are using the new auto downloader. But also there's a lot of just basic stuff. I mean, the basic story. We have a very active forum with a lot of history threads. We have probably about 10 to 12 threads that revolve around either direct story-related topics or indirect threads that talk about more of the in-depth behind-the-scenes story that you may or may not experience within the game itself.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to bring this up real quick too. I mean, we routinely have people that are completely fresh to RPG game environments. ROT is the first time they've tried one, and with that comes a steep learning curve. And we found that a lot of our players are very accepting and helpful to people in that situation.
When you edit that out. You just recently announced the completion of the final 2 chapters of your epic PW module and campaign. Are those complete? And can you tell us about those final chapters?
Sure. We had on July 18th, we had just rolled out Chapter 12 called the Trails of Tyranny. That has rolled out, and it's basically the continuation. It's the final 3 chapters of the story is considered book 3. It's like our stories broke up into 3 books. The 3rd book is dealing with entirely about the real what Cain had been doing in the Nine Hells and about the involvement in the betrayal of Trinity and all of the things that you actually learn about through the first 9 chapters. Chapter 10 is the first chapter where you enter the Nine Hells in Avernus. Doug has spent many, many hours researching the Fiendish Codexes and getting very intimate and very detailed information on the Nine Hells and the areas. And what we did not want to do is we didn't want to recreate the entire Nine Hells. We wanted to build the areas to encompass the key features of the Nine Hells and also to describe the story that we're trying to tell. And Chapter 12 is nothing different. And Chapter 12 goes beyond Avernus, and now you enter Dis and have to confront the Spader, and it's very very well done. Chapter 13 has not rolled out yet. It is the final chapter in our campaign. It is pretty much fully developed. We're still working on some scripting and some custom stuff, which we'll get into later in the interview with some of the technical questions. But it'll delve into the final areas of the Nine Hells, where you'll end up going to Nessius and Cania. And we have very, very detailed areas. We push the limits of the tool set every day with the stuff that we develop. And I think the screenshots show that if you look at our forum and things of that nature. But it has not rolled out yet, but we do have a tentative rollout date for August the 3rd for that. And the only reason I'm not rolling it out sooner is because I'm actually working on a final video very similar to the way they've done videos in the original campaign that the players will be able to watch upon completing the actual chapter.
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, reading the Getting Started section of the website, you mentioned that character development is essential in Realms of Trinity, and that players will be rewarded for attaining experience above and beyond level 30. When a player reaches certain thresholds of experience, you'll be entitled to an epic relevel. How exactly does that work?
Well, the character development, it's always welcome, but it's not completely necessary on the server. And, as we stated before earlier with the interview, the players on ROT are free to do whatever they want. If they want to go in and RP, they can RP, and stay wherever they're at. If they want to grind, they can grind. We really offer both versions for the players. The re-levels itself, when they hit those epic, those XP thresholds, what we do is we go in and we give them 5 extra permanent ability points. And then there's 4 re-levels, so that'll give them an extra plus 20. We found that isn't too high. It doesn't get too powerful. And it also allows them to like qualify for earlier feats and really tailor their guy. It gives them something to work past. You know what I mean? So once you hit 30, it's just not the end.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
It also helps, like with, I know that, one of the biggest complaints that I've gotten about the core game itself is about the lack of power of casters and being able to throw a lot of damage up, against things, because you have to balance things out for warrior-based classes that can really throw a lot of damage up and stuff. So you have to beef up the monsters a little bit more to make things interesting. So I get a lot of complaints to that. One thing it helps with is that them being able to add a possible plus 20 to intelligence, that helps push up their DCs to the point where they're able to really swack some of the higher-end, monsters creatively. It may not be a fireball, but they could pretty put a hurting on something good, the Banshee. So
you talked about that you welcome both role players and grinders. How have you managed to balance that out in terms of, I guess, not winding up with groups of specialists? By that I mean some of the servers that I've played on over the years, there was a big schism between the upper level characters and the lower level characters. Those who had spent a lot of time on the server just grinding away, and all of a sudden, in 2 weeks, they're, these monsters walking around, and people who prefer to role play come in, and because they're not out killing monsters, then they're still second level. How have you counterbalanced that?
Well, I mean, the simplest answer I have is that we have other DMs that have not did not join on the call today, but we do have one specific DM that heads RP and RP initiatives, and also the evolution of the definition of RP. We'd like to, I have a pretty interesting thread, which I won't get into now, but about what our definition of, the evolution of role playing is, and how it's worked so far is that we have our grinding players who, they are going to be receptive to role playing, or they're not going to be receptive to role playing. What I've seen so far is even some of the most diehard grinders have been very receptive to RP, done for the simple fact that our world has such an encompassing story and such a rich and environmental areas, and there's so much NPC dialogue, there's so much PC dialogue that you almost can't help not get wrapped up into it. It's almost like whenever you play the original campaign by yourself, you kind of get wrapped up into the story. You're like, oh, I gotta beat this, or I gotta go do that, and it's like, or you feel like, you have some kind of stake in it. Well, a lot of our grinder players end up getting a stake in the game because of the story and the way we developed it. And with our RPDM heading specific story events, actually Common does too. He has a whole line of stories that he DMs as well. It really pulls a lot of the players together, and they all want to get together to have an adventure together, and something that they can't necessarily experience in the game itself, because these are live events. These are things that deal specifically with people going around and experiencing things that are fully dynamic and fluid.
Cool. Now I like hearing that. I think it would make a ton of difference to a lot of different players.
Yeah, as Brian mentioned, I have a set of plot lines for stories that I run, and I try to mix both aspects into it. Role play as well as a high amount of action. To try and bring both sides together and make them both feel like they've got a stake in the event.
Do you, then let me ask the next follow-up question to that. Do you change your server based on the results of these special events? In other words, does what the player do make a difference.
No, not with the DM ran events. I mean, they themselves are considered side plots and things that we have special areas developed for. They're kind of like template areas. We do change. There is a short answer is yes, we do. I mean, there are things that we have changed. Like we've added NPCs that have their own stories now that weren't there when we started. Or, you see a Trinity guard walking around. Well, now this Trinity guard has a specific name and a background. If you right click and look at his details, and he has specific, conversation text. We have done more of that recently, where we have actually altered module content to reflect the stories that have been told by our PDMs.
Okay, cool. Good to hear that.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
We, as Brian was saying there, recently we've here and there are changes made to the world to reflect what players are doing. It's the hard thing with that is Neverwinter 2 is a lot more time consuming to build. And to stay, it's harder to stay as dynamic with it as you could in Neverwinter 1. It's a lot harder. So some things, there has to be a call made on whether, something warrants a change to the world.
That makes sense.
Okay, what kind of groundbreaking, rich environmental effects and custom scripting exist on Realms of Trinity that make it unique and challenging?
There's a lot. I'll keep it to just the choice few, the general select, so to speak. Starting with the environmental effects. Whenever we were going through storyboarding out the areas, in which we did probably January, February 2008, we storyboarded up the first 7 chapters, and actually started into even 8 before we were even done with the first 7. We were looking at, okay, what kind of environment are we looking at here? I mean, is it, you got the classic forest, or you got some swamps, and you got some different, for your topology. But when we start looking at some of the more elaborate ones, such as Atlantis, which is in the Sea of the Fallen Stars, a water world, basically, an old ruined water world, that was sinking into the sea. I thought that just having, a water board that, looked, decrepit / old and worn wasn't just enough. I mean, you could doctor it up really well, which we did. But the thing that I thought would be amazing is if we were able to come up with our lightning effect, to actually see the lightning bolts in the sky and heavy rains and wind and and give a very realistic feel to what you were walking through. So what we've done is, for example, in this specific example, is we had created a lightning effect. One at that time had not existed. We used lights, and we used scripting and heartbeat events to, fire off a lightning bolt and flash, turn on a specific light that would flicker like a lightning flash, and have the thunder clap, and we would do that, and we would roll those around all of the boards that revolved around Atlantis. And we didn't stop there. On our interior boards that had windows, we had lightning flashes coming through the windows and lighting up the room, and made some really eerie effects. I mean, some effects that I'm going to use again in some more like Dracula type scenes. We're going to get into some undead scenes. That's one example. Second example is Avernus. If you read the lore of Avernus, there's constant meteors and fireballs being cast about by an imprisoned devil that Bel has imprisoned. So one of the things we said, well, if we're going to do Avernus and we're going to really make it look like the books look, we got to come up with a way to show the meteors flying through the sky and smashing the mountainside, and make it random and make it look real and realistic. So we came up with a similar setup for that, where you actually can see meteors streaking out of the sky and smashing the landscape, smashing the mountainsides, and all over the place. And also, you can even get hit yourself as a player. I mean, it's totally random, and there's rolls and checks, and it's all scripted, but it's very realistic, and it looks very realistic. Those are the 2 good examples of environmental effects that we have written.
Dakmor is another good example for a really good feel of a a set of boards?
Yes, Dackmore is, we have a section called Dackmore, which is the old ruined Trinity Cemetery. And it basically fell into the realm of shadows, which is a little bit of a playoff of, and a little bit of familiarity with Mask of the Betrayer in the Shadow Realm. And what it is, it's all black and white. We went a little bit further than what they did in Mask of the Betrayer. We really desaturated it well. We put a lot of other effects that really enhanced that film. So, I mean, those are a couple other things that go along with that. So
that sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah, and what's nice about all these effects is that you can go right to the core D&D books and find that stuff. I mean, these are actual things that, take place. Like going into the cemetery in Dackmore would be the same as, going ethereal. You look at the prime material plane differently, ethereal. And then when you enter Dackmore, through the story that you read and stuff like that, through the server, you find out that you're actually becoming ethereal and going into there, to deal with the problems there.
Yeah, and the overall feel when you're in some place like that is like the old black and white horror movies back in the day. I mean, it lends to the immersion factor, incredibly.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, we go a couple steps further too. Our mobs, and I'll give a little bit of a spoiler too. I mean, it's actually rolled out, so it's not a total spoiler. But just for like when you actually encounter Despater, which is the Duke of the Iron Tower, the second layer of the Nine Hills, in the lore, he will turn your flesh into iron and then rust you away. That's how he kills you. He doesn't fight. He doesn't necessarily pick up a sword or an item or whatever. He will turn you into iron and rust you away. We have done that through NW script. We have a thing, where you're there fighting them, and all of a sudden, guess what? Half your party is a big iron statue. And the next round, guess what? You see a little rust pile, and their guy's dead. I mean, we went a step beyond a lot of our creatures and our encounters too. Not just making them, we have to set the AB on this, or AC has to be this. I mean, we really make people scramble for a victory sometimes, because we're actually using D&D lore to enhance our encounters.
One of the things that somebody told me one time that I've always thought was just absolutely amazing in its stupidity was that if you have a good story, then the special effects don't mean anything, that you don't need special effects. Well, my opinion is those special effects can add so much to the core story. If you can't make the people feel like they're in the story, then why are you bothering? And so I think the effort that you have gone to here with the lightning and the meteorites and stuff is just absolutely astounding.
Well, that's why you guys got to get in. You guys get in.
Yeah, I'm going to try this out.
You got to experience it firsthand.
And you actually see the environment. It's not going to be like anything you've ever seen anywhere. I mean, this is all, what my idea of hell would look like if you got there. And when you see the meteor streaking through the air and you're like, oh, that's pretty. And the next thing you know, you're walking through and you get
the next one hits you.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. And on top of that, I mean, those are just examples. I mean, we do have it's another desaturated type of realm where we feature what I like to call interior/exterior areas. It's an interior area that's built on an exterior board. It's on an exterior area template. And what that allows you to do, and for the Iron Tower, you'll see this when you do eventually see it, or players who actually do get to there, will see that you get to see the clouds rolling through the broken wall, and you're able to do, I'm actually physically build the interior, exterior together using the BCK builder's kit. I mean, I've hand built these buildings from the inside. So when you're inside and you look up, you see this big cathedral ceiling that you'll never see anywhere else. I mean, you're going to see all those things when you look at this stuff.
One of the things that, because of the complexity of your world, and as a builder myself, I know how difficult it is to DM and build and run your special events and keep things going without just absolutely losing your mind. How many DMs do you have on staff?
We have about 6 right now. We have one guy that kind of, told us that he's got some other stuff going on, so he kind of backed out right now. But right now it's, me, Kalma, Brian, Chuck, and Mike, and Brandon.
Yeah, don't forget Brandon.
Yeah, I almost did there. I forgot. He likes to sit in the back, But it's good. I mean, the way we break everything up, I'll do like, the core board creations, and then I'll pass those files off to Brian, and he'll get them incorporated. And, that frees my time up to get in on the server. Kalma's always in, my brother's in, and, we all have different work schedules too, which is nice. So usually any time throughout the day you can get in and, within hours, there's a DM popping on.
You had talked a little bit earlier that you have a very specific process for how you obtain DMs, that you just don't let somebody wander in off the street and go, hey, I'm available, and you snatch them up and throw them in. Do you have, do you pull from your player base, or can they be elevated to DM, or is that how you find your DMs? Or
Yeah. Originally when we started this, it was just me, Brian, and my brother Chuck. The other DMs all came from our player base. I mean, they get in, we watch them, we talk to them. I mean, we've only been live, for like 9 months now, 10 months. And, we like to see, how the people are, whether, we think that they're like trustworthy and, exactly, we think it's important that they stick to our core vision, of what we feel ROT is. That's really the main thing. And then we look at, what exactly can they bring if we do bring them as a DM. And, Kalma's a great example. He came in, he's able to help Brian with a lot of the scripting and, and he goes and does a lot of the RP events, which is, that's exactly what we need. People like that.
Yeah, also, I mean, we pull specifically from a player base because they have, they have an intimate knowledge of the server. They know the areas. They know the scripts. They understand how things work. They spent that level of time, learning the environment, and they have an interest of being a DM. I don't want to, I have done that before, where I might approach somebody that, I think would be a great DM, but they don't necessarily have the interest. That never turns out well. I mean, from my experience, they don't log in or you don't have the support that you need. Typically, it's people who have interest and also have, put a lot of time in and really intimately know the server.
Yeah. I mean, Realms of Trinity was first game server I've been on in a long time that, I mean, it made me want to DM again because I gave it up back in Neverwinter 1. I just basically burned out from the headaches of DMing and building all at the same time. And after I spent a couple months playing on Realms of Trinity, I wanted to DM again.
Yeah, it's easy to burn out. And it's also DMing in Neverwinter Nights is a whole ton different than DMing tabletop, as I've done both. And it's much harder to DM on the fly, constantly in Neverwinter Nights. There's no, okay, everybody take a break while I look up the rules here. You're moving and you're blowing and going nonstop, and so you have to be fascinated with what you're doing in order to stay with it.
You have to be able to roll with the punches and think on the fly because you're dealing with a big community. You've got people from all across the globe. Don't all think the same way. It's not like when you have 7 or 8 people sitting around a table in your living room. You can pretty much, how those people think after a little while. With online, you've always got an influx of new players coming through as well. So you have to learn how to adjust to how different people think and play.
Yeah, I keep telling everybody, the hardest thing as a DM is that you can never figure out everything another player could possibly come up with. So, you have your events and stuff, and then lo and behold, what do you think or what you had planned to happen, and then they find ways around that, and then it's like, instantly you got to change what you're doing and, kind of go with that, just like Kalma said.
Yeah, it's a tough job, but it can add so much to a player's game knowing that they've got, personal DM attention who is indeed rolling with the punches. And it sounds to me like you all have discovered that and lived that. So that's another fascinating aspect to your persistent world.
What are some of the challenges you face running a persistent world in Neverwinter Nights 2?
There's a lot of challenges. I personally, from day one, have limited a lot of the challenges because of I'm a software engineer by day. I like Cadron. I've spoke with Cadron from the PRC. Me and him share a lot of war stories together. And we try to develop things in a manner that'll be easy to maintain. And that's the first thing that I'll start with is the fact that when we have developed the server, I come up with a structural architecture that does not lend itself to crashing. We get probably about one crash. Well, with the XP bug fix with NWNX4, we literally went a whole month without a single crash. And we hold a lot of players a lot of times. I mean, we average like 25 on at any given time, except for like the wee morning hours where we get like 10 on. So it's a feat in its own, the model that I came up with, and the fact that also the challenges of integrating custom content. For instance, here's a good example. This is one of the ones that almost caused me to shut the server down because I was afraid, couldn't figure it out. Is whenever Storm is A here rolled out, the new artificial intelligence brought the server to its knees. It just totally was inoperable. It was like 4 players. You could have as many players log on as you want to, but the first group that actually hit a mob somewhere, it would be game over. I mean, the server would literally lag to its death. So I had to hurry up and scramble and, find a way to revert the AI, but keeping the patches and whatnot. So I spent a good solid week of screwballery trying to, actually get the AI just itself reverted back to MOTB so that, the server could go on. And that's what I've done. We're still running that to this day. Runs perfect. But every time I try to revert back to see maybe if the latest patch, I'm doing little quotes with my fingers, like quote, latest patch is actually fixed that artificial intelligence bog down, it ends up going right back to its knees again. So I that was a challenge that we overcame. That's always a challenge, custom content, patches. I do use the Cadron PRC pack, but Cadron's been phenomenal getting me updates that I need or help that I need with integrating his content, for something that isn't quite clear enough at the time that I have to look into it. He's always there to give a helping hand. Other challenges, really just keeping everything in sync, keeping things up to date, keeping things fresh, keeping players engaged, keeping players informed. Those are all challenges that we face on a daily basis because we do have such a large player base. I mean, it grows so fast. I mean, whenever we first started, we used to personally greet every player that logged on. Give them a little sack of gold, a little pat on the back so don't get killed too much, and how you doing? Thanks for joining, 'cause we do appreciate all of our players, even to this day, even though we don't necessarily always get to greet every one of them. So, we've done a lot there, and it showed. It shows every day that we're handling the challenges.
And I'd just like to add that, with a lot of the problems that come up with the patches and the new scripting and everything, when we played on a lot of the other servers before we finally decided to do our own, we saw that the problems that they had, these new rollouts and stuff, they would come out and then the servers would be down for, weeks on end until they got time because they have lives, to fix the problems. How we got around that is that we actually have a second server that we use to test everything beforehand, fix the problems, and then we take that to the actual live server, and then there's no loss in transition to the players when they come in.
Yes, we focus very heavily on the user experience. Experience is key, and the person's interactivity with our server and stability is key too for us.
Tell us about this donations of real money for in-game objects.
We actually had the only game objects that we give for donations would be, we have what we call guild halls, where players can actually purchase their own housing, and we'll actually either use a board that they submit to us. We have an area upload form on our website where people can upload an ERF of their area, and we take a look at it. If it's all cool, they're not embedding 10 billion gold somewhere in there. Or, we take a look at it, and we'll actually incorporate it and give them a nice house, exterior house somewhere in Trinity West or Trinity Town Center, and they're able to get in. There's some nice features to that because they could, we'll give them our own little world map in there. We'll give them persistent storage, keys, and nice security, and a place to RP even. As far as other donations, what we do is we have donations for in-game gold. We give a lot of gold for very little money. We get for each dollar we give 250,000 gold pieces. So it's not like a bilking scheme. If somebody wants to give $5, we'll give plenty of gold to go mill about with for a long time. And we do that. Plus, we give little bonuses if you give more.
Yeah, the whole idea with the donations was just to help curb the cost for the hardware. And
yeah, we run, and another thing too is, and this is something we're very open about, is we run a production shop. We have a production server. We have the beta server. We have production infrastructure. I bring a literal cloud line in from the internet to here. For our bandwidth, so that that keeps the lag spikes to an absolute minimum. And if you ask our players, you'll see that they'll tell you lag is very rare on our server unless we have 50, 60 people on. And also, the fact is that we also run RAID arrays for our hard drives. I have external backups running on player vaults and our database vault. We have very highly redundant data. We have basically a miniature data center running out of my house. I air condition cooled. Our CPUs are all liquid cooled. We're running top notch hardware.
Well, I think that's a unique way of handling that, as opposed to having the team wind up supporting everything. I think that's cool.
Well, initially it was us. Me and Brian were the ones that ponied up the cash, and then planning on in the future of being able to maybe get a couple donations here and there, and help curb that cost.
Yeah, the internet is expensive. Getting business grade internet with 24/7 support, and we're running it as any MMORG would run in their stuff. I mean, that was one of the things that with my network engineering background as well. I mean, I really value having a tight system that I don't have to worry about going down. I don't want to disgrantify the players, and whatnot. So we very much wanted to run this, and I like to put a thumb in the eye of the big MMORGs too, because I don't like them. I don't like the World of Warcraft and all these big money. Everywhere you can go to every 7-Eleven and see a World of Warcraft copy everywhere. I don't like that either. I like to be able to show the value of Neverwinter Nights 2 because of how much it offers the community.
Oh, yeah. Excellent philosophy there.
So this is a relatively new persistent world. You said before that it's been open for about 10 months?
Yes, September 6, 2008.
Okay, so during that time, what have been, I'm sure you've had many, many of these, but what have been some of your favorite moments?
Some of the biggest moments, are the new additions that we bring in, like, when we included the Atlantis and Blood Sands area, and then Avernus, and then, a lot of the lower hells, and then getting the player responses when they see those new areas, with the custom environments and all the new scripting and, all the effects that we put into it and how it relates to the story. And then when you get that feedback, it really gives you a sense of accomplishment. Like, hey, the stuff that we're doing is going over really well.
Yeah, we do have a lot. I agree with Doug totally. I get the same, the same enjoyable responses. I mean, when I see people's heads, they type boom, their head just explodes when they see something and they're picking pieces of their head up. I like seeing that. It does show that we're doing something that's outside the box and we're, keeping people engaged. And I think some of our more humorous creations is the bull turkin, the turkin chicken. the turkey chicken, the FOWL, foul god, things like that. The players, the kind of joke creations that we've done,
we brought that out for Thanksgiving for the people that were actually playing on Thanksgiving Day. That was a custom creation, and then we passed out bull turkin legs to them guys.
Yes.
Which is like a static inventory item. It gives them some bonuses and stuff. It's pretty funny. They had a good laugh with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's become like what has been coined as our maniacal feathered mascot. So I mean, we've had a lot of enjoyable moments there, and also with players. I have formed a lot. Kama being one of them, and a lot of our other players that. Primal threw up some funny videos. You got to check those on YouTube at some time. Primal, he's hilarious. Those are the kind of things that I really find enjoyable with the server. We really meet a lot of good people, a lot of talented people that really want to throw a hand in and try to even further enhance the Realms of Trinity.
Oh, and something else that's nice is the Hall of Fame status. I mean, when you go to the list, we're number 1.
Yeah, we just got our 112th vote. We're about 20. I think we're about 20 away from having the highest amount of votes for any Neverwinter Nights 2 server, and we're holding a 9.97 rating, which puts us at number 1. So I mean, the community's responding back to us very well.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
You talked a little bit earlier about having your regularly scheduled events. That your DMs partake in. Is there anything that happen that you do on like every Tuesday night? Your players know that there will be a special event or anything like that.
Go ahead, Kama.
I was gonna say no. We haven't got. We're slowly getting to the point where we're able to have stuff like that. As the dev cycle wraps up. For the final chapter that has yet to roll out, that'll free up a lot more time in order to have regularly scheduled events. And we've got a couple of storylines going in that direction. Mostly right now, we do a lot of what I like to call hit and run drive-by events, where we log in as a DM and you just you watch the conversation logs and you see a group out doing something or RPing, and you just quietly drop on in and start feeding more into it without them expecting it. And a lot of times when it's all said and done, you've got half the server or more all in that event, and they're all yelling, "Hey, thanks, great, that was awesome, loved it."
Yeah, it kind of makes you do it again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes it worth it. It makes it, the player reaction is what keeps us DMs wanting to be DMs.
Yeah, definitely. Whenever we get a little more free time, we'll throw a post up on the forum. If we have something that we planned and then mapped out, that way it'll give people, they can go in and check the forum. Know that it's going to happen on that date. That way that when they get in, then, the people that wanted to get in are ready to roll.
And we've done that recently. I mean, that's why we brought Brandon on. He's been running a whole other new line of RP events around his NPC. And he does schedule those out ahead of time. So, I mean, if you look at the forum, you will see that, on a such and such a date and time, this event will take place, and he makes the players sign up and have alternates so that, he can assure that, those players, and he knows what to expect as far as participation is concerned.
Very cool. Very cool.
Trey already told you fellas, thank you for coming onto the show. But I want to say it again. If you all have any future updates, you come back and let us know, please, for us to talk about over our show, please.
Sure, we most certainly will. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure.
Yes, it has.
Well, hopefully you fellows stick around for a little bit while we continue with the Neverwinter Nights news.
Sure.
Definitely.
Folks, last episode we only got to talk about a little bit about Hojbo's. I think that's how you pronounce her handle. She has a wicked adventure she's cooking up called The Demon's Melody. And she did an awesome post of information in our forum And one of the things that really caught my attention with it is she's creating her own custom soundtrack for this. She's got a good amount of information about this, and it sounds like a wicked adventure, and it's really not too far away from Realms of Trinity. It's based in Coromir, and she has a sound studio where she's working on this stuff. Now, I see her in the IRC chat all the time, and she ended up only hanging out with us live for a little bit to say I was hot, and then she ran away. And
yeah, it's pretty fascinating as I was reading through that.
it used to be her pen and paper campaign also. So we all got a lot in common there.
Oh, definitely. I've been pen and paper since, 1990.
Yeah. Jason NH and Jason and Grinning Fool, both from the NWN2 community, they reported to me something new that I never heard of. And they report that buying Storm of Zahir for Neverwinter Nights 2 expansion from Direct to Drive, or from the Atari Direct store, will remove the DVD check that requires the one-time only online check. And you'll no longer need the Storm of Zahir DVD in your drive to play Neverwinter Nights 2. You can save that sucker. And you can, but if you still have the Storm of Zahir disc in your DVD drive, it will spin, but it's not required if you purchase through the Direct to Drive.
Well, so, that's a good deal.
Yeah,
it's about time.
Yeah. So if they do come out with more patches, and I hope they do, someday they could, I could save that. Hopefully Rob McGinnis is supposed to be sending me an autographed, team's autograph signed game of Storm of Zahir to give out during Neverwinter NWC Con 5 this coming October. And hopefully he gives me two. One I could keep for myself. That was before the fellow left. Mounted on my wall.
Well, that would be because you can't have my sword to mount on your wall.
I'm jealous of that sword. I should have rigged that thing. Because now here you've been too lucky. You're going to be becoming the head of the DMFI and got that sword. And now you're here taking my job from the podcast soon. So.
Well, it's part of my plan to be Empress Katarina Dragonstar, ruler of all things Neverwinter Nights. Is it working?
Oh, but we're in competition, though. I will fight you.
Okay.
I'll claim that sword from you somehow.
If it disappears off my wall from the dragon claws that it's hanging on, I'll know where to go look.
I'll make a good ally out of your chihuahua.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Speaking of chihuahuas, Adam Miller, I have no idea how that segue is going to work, but we'll try it. Adam Miller has released Chapter 3 of Dark Waters, completing the dynamic and groundbreaking series. We'll post the link to the Vault page download page on our notes, but the Vault release does contain all three of his chapters in one download. So I think that's pretty cool.
Have any of y'all played any chapters of Darkwater?
I played part of the first chapter, and then I kind of got hung up in this persistent world thing, and my time became really limited.
How about you, other gentlemen?
I haven't. I've played some of his Neverwinter Nights 1 modules, which I really liked, but I haven't tried those yet.
Any of you Realms of Trinity gentlemen ever checked out Dark Waters before?
No.
Nope.
No. I bet Karma might dig it. It does get, in the second chapter, it does get a little bit more piratey. But it is an original creative story. And Adam Miller does prove he does have a creative imagination of a storyteller also in this adventure. So he's already known for his good skills with creating adventure modules. So I'm eager to check it out. I want to play part 2. Again, I played the first one, and it's really a very creative story. That will really impress a lot of people. And then but the second part, I ended up getting stuck, but that was probably maybe due to a patch error, like long ago. It might be nice now. It has a wicked sailing system in there. And I kind of wonder if that's kind of the inspiration of where Obsidian got their overland map for. But it looks really good. I want to end up giving it a shot sometime soon. And I'm not saying that just to hype it up either. Come on, it's Adam Miller.
Oh, yes, you are.
No, it's Adam Miller.
Yep, can't argue with that one.
All right. Well, we didn't have any questions for our IRC listeners because supposedly it's kind of quiet and dead in there tonight, and that's what David reports. And so I would have been streaming this episode live over Stickam, lushing it up there.
Good call.
I found that on the Vault today they had a new entry in their Neverwinter Nights 1 Game World database called Isle Clostridia. Requires all expansions plus a CEP. Seemed like an interesting world, so I thought I'd make a note of it for the show. Brief overview says Isle Clostridia is a developing, persistent world of roleplay and adventure. The difficulty level is moderate to high and character advancement slow and is limited practically to about 15th level at this time. The underlying theme is a post-apocalyptic world rising slowly from the ruins of the old civilization. New players will find themselves starting on the docks of the city Clostridia, newly arrived perhaps from far lands in search of adventure. The city and river valley are areas of relative safety in the sea of increasingly dangerous and wild neighbors. Additionally, explorers will find that there is a world beneath the ground as complex and dangerous as the one above, as many secrets were swallowed by the earth during the Great Cataclysm 1,000 years ago.
Wicked.
I thought that sounded interesting,
yeah.
So I thought we should mention it. That was just posted today, so
yeah, it's
breaking news.
That's kind of cool that there's still a very active community in Neverwinter 1 yet.
Oh, yeah.
I agree, definitely.
Yeah.
2001 when that game came out, and it's still very, very active.
That sounds good.
I think we covered everything.
Just throw in that everybody needs to play at ROT.
Arr!
Scare them hard. So until next time,
get in game
and level up.
You can always reach us via our website at neverwinternightspodcast.com or by email at show@neverwinternightspodcast.com. You can also leave an audio comment or listener hello by calling us on Skype. Just call NWN Podcast, all one word. The opinions and viewpoints expressed on the Neverwinter Nights podcast are not necessarily those of its sponsors or those of Obsidian, BioWare, Atari, their partners, or employees. The Neverwinter Nights podcast is a production of These Old Geeks, who is solely responsible for its content.
For now, I say we crack some of those kegs and drown the flagon in wine.
The Neverwinter Nights podcast. The Neverwinter Nights podcast is copyright 2009.